for starting your week with us. Hello and welcome to Business Daily. I'm Lee Ji-yoon in Seoul. We have plenty on our plate today, so let's get started with a look at the day's highlights. Startups and smaller businesses are benefiting from a deluge of government-released copyrighted public works that can now be used for free. Internet home shopping is becoming more popular not only among customers but among businesses as well, as it comes with a number of different advantages. We have these stories and more coming right up. But first, Korea and 6 Central American nations will start a 4th round of negotiations for a free trade agreement from this Monday in the Honduras capital. Talks will take place until Friday with El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, and Costa Rica, and focus on issues regarding products, customs, and investment. Seoul is looking for new markets for its competitive industries such as auto and textiles, while promoting the liberalization of services and investment. The first round of negotiations took place back in September, and in terms of combined GDP, the 6 countries make up the 5th largest market in Central and South America. Trade with Korea has nearly doubled in the past decade, reaching $4.1 billion last year. Korea's top 3 shipbuilders laid out their plans for restructuring over the weekend, prompting a debate among experts on whether the measures are sufficient. But one thing that they agree on is that Korea must preserve its dominance in building advanced vessels. Our Hwang Jae tells us more.
To what extent should Korea's ailing industries be downsized? That's the question that hangs over the government's corporate restructuring drive, especially in shipbuilding, a once golden sector that's been struggling to stay afloat in the midst of slowing global demand and low oil prices.
The argument is that they need to only keep the operations optimal in size and strip back all the other parts that are considered oversupplied.
After the nation's 3 largest shipbuilders, Hyundai Heavy Industries, Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering, and Samsung Heavy Industries, submitted their restructuring plans to creditors over the weekend, some experts have called for tougher measures. Others argue that the industry has room to revive itself and that the plans that already include layoffs and multi-billion-dollar asset sales have to focus on riding out the current slump to maintain a competitive edge against Chinese rivals.
The strength in Korean shipbuilders lie in high value-added ships like liquefied natural gas carriers and large container carriers. So it's important for Korea to expand its market presence in that field.
Stiff competition from Chinese shipyards that now dominate the market for simple dry bulk ships and oil tankers has been another leading cause behind the eye-watering losses seen by Korean shipbuilders. Experts say that could become the case for more complex vessels as well if the current corporate restructuring drive pushes for too steep of a cut in the country's production capacity. Hwang Jae, Business Daily.
The actual value of the Korean won and the Chinese yuan has weakened, while the Japanese yen has gained significantly against a basket of major currencies so far this year. According to the Bank for International Settlements, the real effective exchange rate of the Korean won stood at 108.81 as of the end of April, down 1% from the end of last year. The Chinese yuan slid by over 3% during the cited period, along with nearly a third of the 61 countries tracked by the BIS. Meanwhile, the Japanese yen strengthened nearly 9% over the first 4 months of the year. And to tell us more about last week and this week's stock market action, we have our Business Daily's markets contributor, Choi Jin-seok, joining us on the phone today. Hello, Jin-seok.
Good afternoon, June.
All right, so let's get started by looking at the Korean stock market. Tell us about the last day of trade and the market's overall performance last week.
The Korean equity market closed with a slight uptick on the last session of last week. The Kospi was up by 0.05%, while the Kosdaq rose by 0.8%. The Kospi market was boosted by institutional investors, and both foreign investors and institutions bought shares on the Kosdaq. On a weekly basis, though, the Kospi fell by 0.98%, while the Kosdaq plummeted by almost 3%. Robust retail sales data from the U.S. and minutes from the April FOMC all indicated higher possibilities of an interest rate hike in June, spooking overall investor sentiment. The CME Fed Watch, a futures market that bets on rate hike cycles, once showed a 34% possibility of a June rate hike last week, up from 19% a week earlier.
Then how did the Korean stock market close on the first day of this week?
Both indices opened with a slight uptick on the first session of the week. The Kospi briefly fell as low as 1940 at one point, but recovered to positive territory thanks to foreign investors. Later in the session, institutional investors who bought over 37 billion Korean won or $30 million worth of stocks boosted the index despite offshore investors changing their position to sell. Foreigners again reversed that move, buying 2.8 billion Korean won worth of stocks. In the end, the Kospi rose by 0.3% to close at 1955, while the Kosdaq enjoyed a 0.8% rally to close at 691. By sectors, pharmaceuticals enjoyed 3% intraday gains, leading the positive trend in the Kospi market.
Now, the market focuses on when the U.S. will tighten its monetary policy again. In this regard, what are some of the key market events lined up for this week?
A number of Fed officials are expected to give hints on a possible June rate hike this week. Most importantly, Fed Chair Janet Yellen is scheduled to receive an award from the Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study at Harvard University on Friday local time. While that doesn't appear to be an opportunity to talk about raising interest rates, she'll also speak with Harvard professor Gregory Mankiw, who previously served as chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors during the second Bush administration. Other regional Fed bank heads, including James Bullard on Monday, Patrick Harker on Tuesday, Neil Kashkari, and Robert Kaplan on Wednesday, will deliver speeches as well.
So in light of this shift in mood, this week's economic indicators are expected to receive a lot of attention from investors as well, right?
That's right. Good economic data can boost the Fed's confidence to pull the trigger in June. Before Yellen speaks, she'll have a chance to see some key economic indicators as well. Data on April new home sales are due Tuesday. According to investors.com, Wednesday's data on exports and imports should show the trade gap widened to $61.2 billion. On Thursday, the April durable goods report should show a 0.1% dip. And on Friday, analysts expect an upward revision to Q1 GDP growth to a still anemic 0.8% from 0.5%. And a lot of investors will be watching these numbers closely this week. This has been Choi Jin-suk for Business Daily.
We have more details on President Park Geun-hye's upcoming trips to Africa and France as she prepares to depart on this Wednesday. As she stops over in Ethiopia, Uganda, Kenya, and France, President Park hopes to upgrade diplomatic and economic ties with each country. Here's our presidential office correspondent Song Ji-sun with more.
Africa is seen as the lost frontier in the world, boasting a robust growth rate of 5% in the 21st century and a population of 8 billion. President Park's trip to Africa will take her to the capitals of Ethiopia, Uganda, and Kenya to lay the groundwork to tap into the great potential that the continent holds.
By visiting the three biggest economies in East Africa, Seoul will strengthen cooperative partnerships and facilitate mutual growth in the region.
While assisting Africa with customized development plans, Seoul will also launch a new official development assistance project called Korea Aid, essentially programs on wheels offering healthcare and an introduction to Korean culture. President Park will also become the first South Korean leader to deliver a speech at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, allowing her to put forth Seoul's vision for the continent. Park will then head to Paris for a state visit marking 130 years of diplomatic relations with France.
President Park and her counterpart François Hollande released a joint statement aimed at upgrading their comprehensive partnership for the 21st century, with the creative economy expected to be one of the central points.
Korea and France are optimal partners to realize a creative economy and cultural prosperity. The two countries will finalize deals to jointly foster new growth engines for the future.
During all of our stops, business forums and one-on-one consultations will be held to link Korean entrepreneurs with local buyers. Around 170 business leaders will accompany the president on our trip to Africa and France, creating the second largest delegation since their visit to Iran early this month. 송지선, Business Daily.
Korea's top 1,000 electronics companies reported a 3.6% drop in annual sales last year from the previous year. According to the Financial Supervisory Service, sales slid by nearly $9 billion to $263.6 billion. The watchdog also revealed that of the 1,000 companies, the top 10% are responsible for nearly 90% of annual sales. Experts say the industry's makeup increasingly resembles an inverted pyramid, as Samsung Electronics leads the way, accounting for nearly half of total sales logged by 1,000 firms last year, followed by LG Electronics and Samsung Display. Korea's biosimilar drug market is expected to nearly double in size in the coming years, thanks to government support and aggressive investment from industry producers. Korea Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Association estimates the market will grow to $126.7 million by 2019, from around $68 million in 2013. Currently, 12 categories of biosimilar medicines are being tested in clinical trials. And local pharmaceutical firms are hoping to become the next Celltrion, which successfully won FDA approval earlier this year to enter the U.S. with Inflectra, better known as Remsima in other overseas markets, developed to treat patients with autoimmune diseases. The company is expected to bring in around $2 billion every year from the American market alone. Ever since the government has released millions of copyrighted works into the public domain for free, many businesses have been jumping on this opportunity to give these public works of the art their own creative twist. Our Lee Ju-young has more.
It's been about 2 years since the government started making some of its copyrighted works free for public use. And as it may have hoped, many have been taking advantage of this opportunity to start a business or develop new products. Take startup Goonies. It says demand for its coloring device, Smart Palettes, have soared since introducing traditional patterns and cultural images to its coloring options.
Customers are focusing better with these new designs, and they seem surprised to see there are such interesting patterns.
These once protected works are also being used to produce cultural contents like webtoons and comics.
I had to draw everything from scratch before, so it took a long time. But now I can save so much time and the quality of my work has improved.
More than 5 million items, including literature, photography, video, and music, were registered on a state-run web portal last year, and 2 million more will be added this year. Experts say this is good news for small and mid-sized companies that found it hard to pay expensive royalties.
As long as they find what they need, they can just apply it to their work. The economic value from this can create as much as $2.4 billion.
What's more, the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism says it plans to offer up to 10 million pieces by 2017. This is expected to save as much as $3 billion for the entire population. Customized consulting services will be offered by the Culture Ministry as well to help individuals and SMEs make better use of public works of art. Lee Ju-young, Business Daily.
While channel surfing at home, you might get hooked on home shopping, TV-based retail that enjoys immense popularity here in Korea. It's also an outlet that's off limits to many SMEs because of high entry barriers. And our Eunice Kim introduces a low-cost alternative that involves the internet.
The cost of advertising on Korea's home shopping networks. A professional host or two, production staff and merchandisers, at minimum 20 people. Out of sales, a third deducted as sales commission and another third for airtime fees. meaning in an hour-long show, at least 300 million won in goods must be sold before the vendor makes any profit. It's a reality that stops at being a dream for many SMEs. Enter the internet and smartphones, and that changes. A makeshift studio in a small space, with basic equipment and a computer. Keeping costs down means the manufacturer can take home 80% of the sales. For agricultural goods and fisheries, the crew can take the program to the farm site itself.
We didn't know how to distribute our fish poktae. They were a great help from creating detailed pages on our website to marketing videos.
The show host, who explains the pros and cons of the goods in detail and pushes a purchase, is a position many aspiring broadcasters pine for.
It's a benefit to be able to build up my experience step by step before being put on a grand stage on TV.
They insist there's no exaggerated advertisement as they answer customer questions in real time via chat.
We wanted to create a platform that fulfills the needs of SMEs with the energy of talented young people and good content that serves our customers.
The new medium may eliminate excess costs and lower the entry barrier. But to ground itself as a new sales channel to stay, it will need to win a steady customer base on the vast World Wide Web. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
And that wraps it up for today. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow with more business news that matters to you. Until then, goodbye.